Hello, teacher candidates. Welcome to week 5. I think we should all take a collective deep breath in and let some frustrations go. I do apologize again for the confusions of instructions and my part in some of your stress. I just want to encourage everyone to remember that there are plenty of assignments to bring up your grade. I think that you are all trying and, in this course and in your classrooms, there is no danger of me suspecting that anyone is just terrible at this job. I think that some things have been taught a certain way and I am coming in with different expectations that build up the pressure. So that is not intentional. I just hope that at the end of your credentialing program, you will be mindful of all of the details that go into being an amazing, fantastic teacher. It's not easy. You are choosing a profession that takes a lot out of you, not just time, but your energy that you put into your students also needs to go into all of that background work that is expected of educators. So hang in there and just be encouraged that I am sure everyone is going to finish strong. So thankfully, there are only 2 assignments this week. That's always great. I just want to assure you that due to all of the little details that I have been working through for you with assignments and some struggles that a few of you are having in Teaching Channel, that I'm a little bit backed up with trying to get through all of those progress assessments and the troubles with some of those. But I will do my best to get lesson plans out as soon as possible so you can make those modifications for your progress assessment this week that is going to focus on Standard 5. Just remember that those education specialist candidates also need to focus on those mild to moderate standards in your lesson plans and assessment recordings. Okay, going to make some clarifications about progress assessments, but let me quickly just mention the discussion this week. You will need to watch this video of kind of bad teaching and then answer the prompts. Be sure you answer each of them. There are 4, actually 5 questions there, so be clear in your post. And then when you are responding to your peers, I want to reiterate the RISE model is feedback that you are dedicating to peer classroom experiences, not their actual details of their post. Please don't feel the need to comment on, hey, your post would be better if you provided this example or talked about that instead. That's not the point. They don't need your help in this course, they need your help in real life classrooms, right? So provide your feedback about their classroom experiences, suggestions for their current work, comments that they've already made on something they've already done in their classroom that they're doing currently. And then your Elevate comments are suggestions for ways they can improve future classroom experiences. Okay, now about the progress assessment. I know it has been new to many of you when I said annotate everything, provide a description of all the TPEs so we know you are knowledgeable of this, even if you are not able to capture it in your video. I want to make a clarification, so please understand what I'm about to say is slightly different than what I originally explained to you. It hopefully will be easier for you to do this, but also a little bit more pressure in what you are demonstrating visually in the video. You still need to focus on TPE 5 and the mild to moderate standard if that is your credentialing pathway. Record just 15, well, you may need to record more than 15 minutes and then capture the best 15 minutes when you cut it down. So maybe you're going to use the first 15 or the middle 15 or the last 15, but just record your whole lesson instead of just the 15 minutes unless you are so strapped or that is difficult in your online teaching platform. However, I think the best way to do it is record your whole lesson. That might be 30, 45 minutes, and then cut it to your best 15 where you're demonstrating all the bells and whistles. Okay, all those activities we're talking about, all those peer interactions, all of that fun, fantastic pedagogy that you are learning about and that we discuss. And be mindful as you are recording of the TPEs you need to be demonstrating so that they are written into your lesson plan for TPE 5 this week. Actually, I am going to pull it up real quick so we can discuss specifically what it's about. So, assessing student learning. Remember, you need to incorporate the entire standard as much as possible in your descriptions. So maybe we're just seeing one part of an assessment, but then go on to further describe how what we didn't see was the diagnostic pre-assessment. What we won't see is the summative portion that's going to come later at the end of the lesson or the end of the unit or the end of your term. Those are the things you can describe. What I am going to say is a little bit different from my language about the first progress assessment annotations is you do not, if there is part of a standard that is not part of your lesson, you do not have to try to find some way to describe your understanding of it if it is just not related at all. I find it helpful to try to paraphrase the standards and then point out where it's applicable in your video. But if it's just not applicable at all, do not feel the need to annotate that. Keep in mind, the less annotations, the lower your score range will be, okay? So let's look at 5.1, applying knowledge of the purpose, characteristics, appropriate use of different types of assessments. They list them to design and administer classroom assessments, including rubrics. We can't say all the different types, but you can talk about how you use them for each lesson. Consider how you can give a rubric to your peers during their work and discuss that, and they can talk to each other and give that feedback. That is one of the standards. So look at 5.2, collect and analyze assessment data from multiple measures and sources to plan and modify instruction. So it's not just about multiple assessments, it's about how you gather that assessment data to modify your instruction and document learning. So we're not going to see all of that, but you can discuss your collection techniques through multiple sources, multiple formative assessments throughout the lesson. How, you're taking summative assessments at the end of each lesson, collecting that data for the end of your unit, all of that. Your formative assessments in the lesson should guide your mode of instruction throughout and for the next piece. So discuss that. 5.3, involve all students in self-assessment or reflection on their learning goals and progress, and provide students, remember the and, provide students with the opportunity to revise or reframe their work based on assessment feedback. So this piece right here is about peer and self-assessment and reflections. So stop in the middle of guided practice. Stop in the middle of independent practice. Plug in to your plan a way for students and individuals to look at their own work, to discuss it with a friend, talk about, am I on the right track? What do I need to change? How can I reframe what I'm doing based on this feedback or your feedback in your formative assessments? 5.4, use technology as appropriate to support assessment administration. That's all those fun Kahoots or whatever electronic things you do in your classrooms. Conduct data analysis. Some of those are just done for you in those digital games, which is fantastic. And provide students with technology as appropriate to support assessment administration and conduct data analysis, and communicate the learning outcomes to students and families. Some of you already touch on this. Data goes automatically to the family sent home through our school app, whatever, that's great. Maybe you need to email weekly results to families. That's great. How are you using technology to keep students and families informed of their progress based on your data analysis? Number 5.5, use assessment information in a timely manner to assist students and families in understanding student progress. 4 and 5 are related. So talk about how you provide updates and how that's timely, daily, the end of the day, weekly, at the end of the unit, however you do it. Make sure it's consistent. Make sure you mention that time frame. 5.6, work with a specialist to interpret assessment results from formative and summative assessments to distinguish between students whose first language is English, English learners, standard English learners, and students with language or other disabilities. So how are you recognizing a student's language development as compared to other English speakers or students with disabilities? Who are those specialists? Of course, there's the language specialists who do all the EL testing. So describe how you meet with those professionals or other SPED teachers if necessary to say, this is the category where this language learner falls in, and this is how, the difference between the standard, the expectation, and their abilities. So describe the specialist you talk to and how that informs your instruction for those specific students. So interpret English language assessment data. Part of 6, those two conversations are going to be very similar from 6 and 7. Identify their levels, proficiencies. So this one, the first one's talking about getting the information from specialists and then how you interpret it and use it. So 5.8, use assessment data, including information for students with specialized needs in SPED programs or 504s to establish learning goals. So your communication with all those, it could be speech and language, it could be a SPED teacher, it could be the counselor who kind of oversees the 504. How do you talk to them and use that data to plan your instruction, your differentiation, your accommodations? Be sure that you are talking about using the data and where you get the data. And some of you don't have students with IEPs. Discuss that and talk instead about how you differentiate instruction as best practice in your classroom. You don't have to have a kid in an IEP to do that, right? So just be sure you are touching. There are ways to touch on all of these things. Even if it's just in the planning of your lesson plan and not in the video, you can annotate that. I hope that is clear. There are a few notes in the assignment instructions that I have updated for you about things to pay attention to, how to complete your documents where you discuss what was done. That is the place for you in your reflections to talk about the stuff we didn't see but was part of the plan or is part of your class. Notice my comments in there, please. Pay close attention to the instructions. And good luck this week. Remember to take that deep breath, one thing at a time. Y'all got this. You're going to be great. Continue to make meetings with me if you want me to review your work first, if you have questions about doing something the correct way, and just, have a fantastic week.